Hi, my name is Jeremy Fietz, CEO of TheLawFirm.com. I live in Santa Rosa, California, and practice law all over the country. I've settled hundreds of cases, and when the big corporations and insurance companies have refused to do justice, I've tried many cases to verdict. Last year, I went to trial for a young woman of only 35 years old who was struck down in a crosswalk by an SUV taxicab. Her name was Christina. And while the insurance company for the taxicab should have come forward and said, "We're sorry, it's our fault," they didn't. They denied it was even their fault until the first day of trial. And then they only admitted it because they knew the jury would be angry if they didn't. So what's wrong then? They admitted it was their fault, so no problem, right? They did the right thing. Wrong. They admitted the accident was their fault, but then they denied responsibility for Chris's injuries. And they used every dirty trick in the book to fool the jury into thinking that Chris didn't deserve a fair verdict. Their biggest argument was that her hip joint was torn before she was hit by the SUV. The insurance company even hired a doctor to say he didn't think her injuries were caused by being hit by the SUV. Because of that, I had to hire the best experts to prove our case. And in that case, I hired a Beverly Hills orthopedic surgeon and a Yale medical doctor. I spent my money on the best experts because I could not leave it to chance that the jury could believe the insurance company's lies. Now I'm going to tell you a little story about that case. During my closing argument, I argued that Christina's injuries were worth $1 million because of the pain she lived with on a daily basis. Next, the insurance lawyer stood up and said, $1 million? Not even close. This isn't even close to $1 million case. This case is worth maybe 100 or 200,000 tops. And when he finished, I got to have the last word. I stood up and looked at those jurors one by one in the eye, and this is what I said to them. Folks, I want you to imagine that right now, right at this moment, that door to the courtroom opens up and a genie in flowing robes comes in. He snaps his finger, and everything freezes in time. Me, you, the judge, the clerk, the defense lawyers, everyone, except Christina. And this genie goes to Christina and says, "In this briefcase, I have $1 million. He opens it. He shows it to her. He says, "It's yours if you want it." And he reaches into his robes. "Or you can have this key." "What does that key do?" Christina asks. And the genie says, "Right now, if you use this key on that back door to the courtroom, you will pass through it and you will be whole again. It will be as if your body was never hit by the taxi. Your pain will be gone." Do you think she would take the money? Everyone in this courtroom knows that she would think about it. Wow, $1 million. That's a lot of money. But only for a moment would she think about the money. Then she would get up, she would grab that key, and she would march out that door so she could be whole and healthy again. And for the rest of her life, when she was walking on the beach with her husband, or playing with her grandkids many years from now, and every day in between that she was doing the things she was meant to do, she would be so glad she took the key. Not worth $1 million? Easy for them to say. And that's how I ended the trial. I went back to my hotel room while the jury started their deliberations, and that night I got a call on my cell phone from the insurance company lawyer. He was calling to increase his offer from $250,000 to $350,000. And after discussing it with my client, I called him back to say that my client and I choose to live with whatever will be the decision of the jury. And after another day of deliberations, the jury returned a verdict for $800,000. My client is now able to get all the medical care that she needs to lead a more full life. Most cases settle, and you probably won't have to go to trial. Chances are, if you have a great trial lawyer on your side, the insurance company won't want to go to trial. Because in a court of law, one person's words can bring justice.